in Kilometre.
So what we're supposed to press that?
No.
There are four dots around and they pick up within sort of 3 meters circle of.
Oh, I see. We
So
don't
they
have
cover a
to
lot. They're enough in a room like this to cover the whole room. Yeah.
understand that technology, Mr. Bowers. Thanks.
Let's go. According to that clock.
1945, according to my laptop.
Oh, well, let's go then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, good evening, everybody. So my name is Philip Wicks and I'm chair for this meeting. So may I welcome you all to the September 2022 meeting of the Planning and Community Committee of Woodley Town Council. The Town Council is consulted by Wokingham Borough Council on planning applications within Woodley, but the final decision of approved or refused is taken by Wokingham Borough Council. We will notify Wokingham Borough Council of the committee's views, which may include any comments and concerns expressed by members of the community affected by the application. If anyone has any comments to make on any of the planning applications, then they should formally write or send an email to Wokingham Borough Council Planning Department, as they will take the final decision on the application. Right, so anybody here, I don't believe we're expecting a fire drill. So if you hear the fire alarms, please leave fairly quickly as you can. And the assembly point is along the front of the park. Right, okay. Well, let's get that out of the way. So, Matthew, apologies, please.
Yeah, we have apologies from councillors Baker, Bragg and Sartorial.
Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Good. So can we look at the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 9th of August? Use page 5 of your agenda. Are we happy with those? Is there any concern, any comments, anything else to make?
Okay with me?
I wasn't there.
Oh, you won't.
Look lovely, it's exactly how I remember.
Can I take this as being approved?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Need to sort of enter the item 4, which is the current planning applications. Run through those as we can. So the first one is 222134, which is 39 Fitzroy Crescent. Household application for the proposed erection of a single-storey side extension, changes to fenestration, alterations to existing single-storey rear extension to include a pitch roof, bifold doors to rear elevation and a roof lantern following demolition of the existing garage. My comments were as a side extension to replace the existing detached garage with the new playroom, home office and cloakroom. This is on the corner bend with adequate parking. I have no comments and no objections from other councillors. Anybody want to make any comments on that, or are we happy with that one? Happy with that one?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Next one is 222251. That was the 2L. 147 Nightingale Road. A household application for the proposed 2-storey side and rear extension with a single-storey front extension to create a porch and a 1st-storey extension to the rear. So my comments are a 2-storey side extension, increased to 4 bedrooms from 3. The neighbouring property is below the building line, so they're on a rise. And any 1st floor extension may be overbearing on the neighbour, as the houses are on an incline. The extension to the rear and the front porch is less of an issue. This removes some car parking provision, but there appears to be sufficient. Other comments have been overbearing is an issue, no objection from the neighbour, ? And the other comment, slight concern as the house is already higher than the next door house. If the neighbour is happy, I would not object. So would anybody like to make any comments on that? Let's go.
I think just to reiterate my concerns certainly about the overbearing nature. Yes, but really if the neighbour's not objecting, I think we ought to make a comment to cover ourselves.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Apart from that,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Just a comment that we're concerned about overbearing, but providing the neighbour is happy, then. So we. Okay. Number 3 then is 22280, which is 182 Reading Road. This is a new 4-bedroom detached house to be built between existing 182 and the adjacent highway. The existing garage is to be removed. The plan shows 4 car parking spaces and 1 visitor disabled space for the 2 houses, which made me wonder if this was a commercial property. This seems odd. Has a similar application been refused? There is a reference to an F reference, but I couldn't find it anywhere on the website. Access alteration appears to be okay, but maybe overdevelopment of the site. Comment from Carol: the inspector's dismissal on previous applications still look relevant. The access is bad enough for 2 cars, let alone 5. Design is not in keeping. And Richard, share Carol's view that the design is not in keeping, although it is hard to judge that the elevation plans don't give the idea of the full vista, which is a fair comment. I would not object to a smaller house or bungalow possibly, but this will be close to the road end, and due to the height, I think it is unacceptable. So we said it all.
Yeah.
I would recommend refusal
Yeah.
based on all of those.
Okay. Got enough comments on there, I think. Fine. Reading Road. The next one is 222310, which is 15 Mollison Close. Household application for the proposed erection of a replacement rear garden fence with concrete gravel panels, vertical panels, concrete posts and trellis top panels. This is to replace a rear fence from current timber, scrub and young trees to hard material. Assume the neighbour back in has no objection. Knowing the neighbour is in Constable Close, that was my only concern. Other comments, Carol said looks okay as long as there's no loss of trees and the neighbour is okay with it. Richard, I would want to do this too, no objection. I'd probably go along with you because it looked a bit scruffy on the photographs, didn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there are no neighbours because where the work's being done is Jimmy backs onto amenity land or the track. My only concern is that just outside the fence there are some quite mature trees certainly on 2 sides of this. So I want to be sure that they weren't going to be affected by this work, because if they wanted to get to the site from the outside rather than the garden, then they literally have to go through trees. So that would be the only concern. Apart from that, it seems fine.
No, I'll go with putting a comment about
Got no objection, however,
during the construction.
I'd like to ensure that the mature trees at each side of the plot.
So on 2 sides of it, on the side where the Beggars Hill Road is, and on the long side, they've got trees really quite close to the fence, quite a way along. On the other side, it's just bushes, so I don't think it's an issue.
So as long as there's no damage to the mature trees, yeah. Next one is 222321, 52 Mannock Way. Application for the proposed erection of a single-storey front extension, so rear extension, 2-side extension, change of use of amenity land to residential. This has cropped up before, and the question is it actually amenity land? Because there's a suggestion that it's actually owned by a developer. Or, and on that basis, then presumably someone can do whatever they wish with it, providing the developer is happy. But we're not sure.
The strange thing is that Keith thought that Taylor Wimpey owned it,
He does.
but if he thinks that, and the applicants have tried to buy it, but they're not getting anywhere, apparently Taylor Wimpey don't have objections. Why has the sale been unsuccessful? It's very odd.
I expect they're waiting to get planning permission before they buy it, aren't they?
Maybe.
Make an offer. I mean, it's worth nothing to Taylor Wimpey if you can't build on it, and it's worth
No,
it's effectively a ransom strip, isn't it?
very,
So,
very odd situation.
Keith is talking about listing it apparently if it gets rejected.
But I think, I mean, for me, it feels sufficiently complicated that I would hand this over to the officers to
Well,
say,
The officers.
you know what the intention here was originally, and if this conflicts with the intentions and your planning objectives, then make a recommendation to say no. And if, you know, it's fine and dandy and they don't feel that land has value or whatever, then they say yes. But I just feel like I can go on one side saying I don't want to lose a bit of nature reserve, and the other side saying I'd want to do that if it was my house. And
It's not very big either.
it's not. And like I say, I mean, if Keith chooses to list it, that's Keith's prerogative. But I suspect, I mean, experienced councillors will tell me, but I think the planning officers make a recommendation when something's listed, don't they? They'll say,
Well, they say yes or no.
and then
Then if it's no, or it's yes, it's what we don't want, then the listing kicks in.
But I mean, like I say, I will stick to my abstention from last time this cropped up, and like I say, that's my feeling on it.
Alex, you had a few words to say.
Yeah, I mean, like last time, I'm concerned about the loss of wildlife habitat. It's no different from any other part of that nature reserve. It happens to be different ownership, but as far as the animals are concerned, birds and bugs and everything, it's exactly the same as anywhere else. I mean, Keith mentions blackberries. Well, fine, that's a good habitat for all sorts of creatures. I can tell you that because I'm picking lots of them at the moment, but not there. And also there was some reference to the fact that there were going to be children in the rooms and therefore parking would be a problem. That's completely irrelevant. These people could do all this and then their job moves to zero next year, and the people that move in have children in their 20s. So the parking is an issue, and those would be my concerns
I
anyway.
understand that parking's not allocated. I mean, there is parking area there, but I don't believe it's
But
allocated.
it's just the amount of room for parking. Obviously, there will now be not with these two kiddies, but sometime in the future there could be two more cars there, and whether allocated or not, there's only so much room in the road to physically park cars.
I think last time we were happy providing the so-called amenity land was actually owned by a developer or the householder. But if it was actually owned by the council as part of Alderman's, then we would object. I think that's how we left it last time. Yes.
Well, it hasn't really changed. If we effectively recycle whatever went on last time, and maybe make a comment. I don't know if we put a comment about parking, but I think Alex is right. Parking today might not be an issue, but parking tomorrow is a different question, isn't it? Especially, I mean, I don't know how allocated parking works. If you want to put an electric car charging point in, but that could then become fractious if that.
Carol?
Yeah, I think we should mention the loss of wildlife habitat as well. We did last time. Sounds like we didn't, but however small the patches, it's still home for some things, creatures. We can't do anything about listing it. That's have to be a borough council. So I think listing is probably not part of.
I think I had an email from Keith because he's away. He said something about he was listing it.
He has already.
Yeah, because he's been working with the householder for some.
I thought he said he'd list it if it was going to be refused, but
Well, that's an odd way to put it, isn't it, really?
Well,
So you have to list it
Well, I
before
think
it's
it- yeah.
refused.
Yeah, I think
But yeah, I think
it's a recommendation from the officer, not the decision that he's based on.
so. Yeah, I think.
And last time we just submitted an objection because that was just said no objections at all. But I know that the minutes recorded that Councillor Jewell had objected to it.
I think our only concern is who owns the inverted commas amenity land.
Well,
It doesn't make any
It
difference.
shouldn't make a lot of difference. But, obviously, so by the household, I mean, they can chop stuff down if they want to. That was the point.
They wouldn't need to put a planning application. in.
That's what they would just chop it down.
WBC will have to make a decision on that, won't they, when it goes to
Yes.
the officer
Yeah.
and or the committee, planning committee.
The ownership doesn't come into the decision on planning. So they'll make a decision on to whether the planning application is acceptable or not. And if it were to be acceptable, the people that wish to do the work would have to get permission of the landowner, whoever that may be. So you can apply for planning on a plot of land you don't own yet and get planning permission and then go and purchase the land and build.
We have had many planning applications which include building on amenity land, and Wokingham said no because it's amenity land, which is what I'm talking about.
Yes, amenity is different to decision of ownership, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's
The
the,
question is
that's-
about the ownership and is it amenity land, isn't it?
and really that's where I was getting to with I'd rather the council make a decision, because if they're saying that was kept as amenity land due to the design of the estate, then I'll respect that. And if they say no, as far as we're concerned, that's for Taylor Wimpey. If Taylor Wimpey wanted to tarmac that tomorrow, they could. It's no issue to us. Then, well, you know, hopefully Taylor Wimpey wouldn't do that. But I think for me, it's got to be worth a comment around parking, because I think we've all decided that parking is a potential time bomb for the future. And I don't know something about council's advice over community land, but you know, otherwise we didn't object before. I don't see how we can lodge another one, but I think comments are absolutely fine, aren't they? And it reflects, well, my feeling that it's one for officers to get their professional pencil out and make a hard business decision rather than a emotive one.
And if they hadn't mentioned the word amenity in their application, we probably
Might not have spotted it, but it's a nice application. I get it. I'd want to do it.
All right, we'll move on to 222418 then, which is 2 Welford Road. Application for the proposed erection of a part first floor, part single and part 2-story side rear extension, partial garage conversion to create habitable accommodation, changes to fenestration. I've said the extension to include building onto existing garage with a new first floor similar to the neighbouring property. The rear extension is 4 metres deep on the ground and first floor. Consideration has been given to neighbouring properties regarding sidelines, because I seem to remember on the drawings, they showed some lines going up at the 45 degrees. I've got one comment from Richard. It's pretty clear. If there are no neighbouring objections, I'm okay with this. Though as it looks sympathetic with the bulk not visible from the road. Carol was quite happy with it. See on this.
Yeah, I am too. It's okay.
You happy with that one? Okay, thank you. 222423, which is 66 Mannock Way. Full application, change of use of amenity land to residential, including the erection of a new garden wall following part demolition of existing garden wall, plus the erection of a ramp for new level access to side door, part retrospective. This takes amenity land into the property for the sake of a new access due to health issues of the occupant.
Go back to the amenity land, don't we?
And this is amenity land this time.
Yeah, I think this is a reasonable use of that to, allow disabled access, but I'm concerned about the sight lines because it's extending, not quite a building, but, the ramp out closer to the judge.
I would have thought they could have applied to put a path across the amenity land, which is effectively what they're looking for, to give new access to the health issues of the occupant.
Well, I've been there and they've done it, virtually, the wall's virtually complete. It's not very high, so I don't think, it's not like it's a building, it is quite a low wall. My concern, this is supposed to be, if it's somebody that's disabled, but put it this way, the ramp is not wide enough for a wheelchair. I doubt the gate is wide enough for a wheelchair. So whether that really is the case, or whether this is for a disabled person, say it's for health grounds. I mean, all right, you could still say you go up a ramp, it's easier than going up steps, and you could do that with a stick. But it's just that it says ramp. Actually, it's quite a fairly narrow path, and it's not wide enough for a wheelchair. That's the only comment I'll make.
It's an important.
But it's all virtual finished.
Comments are, if it's amenity land, whose is it? If it's not owned by the household, then they shouldn't do it.
WBC, weren't it?
And I think we should, on that basis, we should probably object. But what do you think?
I think the red line plan on the street, sorry, I just forgot the name of it now.
Site plan.
The site plan had the red line plan running round the edge of the amenity land, which implied, if you've got that from the land registry, that red line denotes your property. And I think I was swayed to that. And you know me, I do kind of have this, well, if you own it, you should largely be able to do what you like with it. And I know, even I'm disappointed with that viewpoint sometimes, but I'm kind of, yeah, there you go. You see, so the red line plan sort of indicates that that is what it is. I think the only thing I keep coming back to is it's clearly for a good reason. And I was immediately inclined to say, yeah, but if somebody just come along and said, I want to stick a wall up there, I don't know if I'd be saying, yeah, that's great. And I wonder if I'm automatically biased over a good reason to want to do it rather than, okay, when that person no longer lives there, is that still something you want? I don't know. I think ultimately, I don't have a great problem.
Let's build an extension that goes out to.
Well, and it's almost drawn a line that you can then do what you like with that media. I think my mindset would be still, if they own the land, we don't object, but I also don't like retrospective planning applications, as we well know. And I don't know how one reflects that, but I think if you lived in a property like that, you really could have known that that was going to be an issue.
And I wouldn't like it to set a precedent.
Oh yeah, because that airfield has got a lot of corner plots like that. And again, you kind of, well, you've boxed, I mean, Carol talked about sight lines, but you've almost boxed the corner in by doing it. So I don't know. I think the first question is, do they own it?
Well, if they own it, it's neither here nor there. If the council says it's amenity land.
Exactly, and that's a personal bias of mine is, but are there any covenants on it? Because it might be they bought the house and the covenant says, I used that house that you couldn't do anything in the front and you couldn't build a shed,
This is something that's angered me for a long time. People buy the house thinking they own the whole plot. And then when they put in a planning application and Wokingham says, oh, that's amenity land. You can't build anything on there. And they say, but it's ours. They say, tough.
Yeah. And that's why people quietly put up a fence for 10 years, isn't it? But I don't know. But like I say, it just keeps coming back to me. I think my instinct is it's okay because it's for a good reason. And frankly, if it's theirs, it's theirs. But there's part of me that just keeps coming full circle to say, should I think that? I don't know. So my vote goes to make the comment on who owns the community land and is there a covenant on the property? If so, object.
I personally am not happy with it,
But
because I think it does set a precedent. Other people lots of ideas about trying to grab perhaps a piece of land which perhaps they don't own.
and
They're not entitled to own, as the
They're
case
not
may
entitled
be.
to it.
the other thing I suppose is, do you really need a great big wall to put a ramp by the back door? I get there's a security and seclusion element to it, but
I also think it's odd that it's not wide enough for a wheelchair.
It's not.
I think that's very strange.
short-sighted at
I
least.
don't think, well, no, I mean, if he's doing that for health reasons, it's not short-sighted because health reason exists already, surely.
But that's what I mean. My nan ended up in a wheelchair when she had dementia quite quickly because
But as I say, the path is not wide enough for wheelchair, and I don't think the gate is.
I get the impression we're minded to object.
Yes.
I mean,
What we're talking about.
I think I would, yeah, and I suppose my particular one would be around unauthorised change of use on amenity land and the wall. I think if that had come back with a ramp, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. We would just be saying, yeah, cool, ramp, good reason. But it's the great big wall for me.
I think we're going to object to this, Matthew, somehow. With the qualification that if, on the assumption that the land is not owned by the household.
Reasonable.
That seem reasonable?
I will go with that.
Everybody happy with that?
Caveat slightly.
Next one we've got is 222452, which is 22 Radcott Close. Application for a first floor rear extension. And this is to convert the current ground floor extension into a two-story by adding a new first floor. Excuse me, number of bedrooms remain as 4. And I've said no obvious impact to the neighbours. Carol said no comment, and Richard says no objection. I like it.
A little bit of style to it, isn't it? Nobody does that anymore. Isn't it?
Good. No problem.
Okay. Right, so that was Radcott Close. 222461 is the next one. Mouse is playing up, excuse me a minute. Which is 59 Comet Way, which is an application for a single-story rear extension following demolition of a conservatory. I've said it's a replacement of the existing conservatory with a new solid structure. Footprint is similar, although more rectangular than previously. Does not appear to extend as far. So it doesn't appear to extend as far as the previous one. Any comments on this one? No objection and no comments.
Okay.
So we're happy with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. 22250635 Coolbeck Drive has been withdrawn, I understand, from Matthew. So we don't need to consider that one.
Yes, it will come back at a later meeting. Wokingham had validated it. They have a line of validation officers that make sure it's full of the right information before information gets sent out. And then when the planning officer checked it, they said that they actually aren't missing information, so they unvalidated it. So when that information will come through, it should come back to us.
Next one I've got is 11 Redwood Avenue. Erection of a single-story front extension. I've said this is a front ground floor extension across the full width of the house. This extends living area and adds a cloakroom. Many houses in this road have similar extensions, although the attached and the neighbouring houses do not. But the precedent has obviously been set elsewhere down the road. No objection and no comment to the other things that I had.
Okay
So are
with me.
we happy with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. 222543, 5 Colemansmore Lane. Single-story pitched roof to the front elevation, single-story rear and side extension to include roof lights, following conversion of the existing garage to create habitable accommodation. I've said remove garage and replace with full depth, that should be side extension, which also goes across the rear to a full depth of 5 meters. No comments, no objections to that one that I've had so far. So on that, or are we happy with that one? Happy on that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Two 22560 173 Colemansmore Road. Erection of a single-story front extension to create a porch, 2-story side extension to create habitable accommodation, single-story rear extension with pitch roof, along with changes to fenestration following demolition of existing canopies. I've set a front extension to the house similar to the neighbour to cover the existing garage and front porch, large side extension to replace existing garage and lead to detached gym in the garden. So at the moment we've got a house and a gym. And what they're doing, they're filling it in. So they're joining the end of the house to the gym, and then they're filling in the gap between the gym and the end of the house. Rear extension, the full width of the house to fill in the back, such that the new side extension and gym forms a part of the new footprint of the house. This is a large extension and increases the ground floor by about 50%. Carol says neighbour has already got a similar extension looking at the front elevation, but footprint is large, tight, taking up a lot of the garden. Richard, because of the space between next door and the massive double garage already next door, I think this makes no negative impact. Therefore, I have no objection. Does anybody want to say anything about that one? Carol?
Yes, I think it is that joining up with the gym that may not be a gym in future years. So we've got to assume that it's a space that could be used. And I actually think it's overdevelopment of the site. I take Richard's point about it not having an impact, not being seen, etc. but that footprint is very large.
It is.
I think I would suggest that it's overdevelopment.
Don't disagree with that.
Go along with that.
I won't object to it. I'm not passionately for it or against it. I'm not as, yeah, I get it. And you're right, actually, that joining up of the back pieces that I probably hadn't really considered quite as
You're on the
well.
boundary fence, aren't you?
I am. I'm forever liberal in that regard. But yeah, again, I won't demand a vote or anything. You can.
Okay, so it sounds as if we may have an objection to that one because of the overdevelopment of the site. Whoops. So 70 Fairwater Drive, 222602. Single-story rear extension with pitched roof following demolition of the existing roof. One new lantern to existing flat roof side extension. I've said a new lantern roof to the existing kitchen, small rear extension to pulling a rear walkway between the kitchen and dining area to one room without having to go outside to access. So if you come out of the existing kitchen to the dining area, you've physically got to go outside, and all they're doing is boxing in that little corner.
Okay,
And I've got no comments and no objections from other councillors. So are we happy with that one then?
Yeah.
Okay. 222624, which is 52 Radcott Close, conversion of the garage to habitable accommodation. It's just a conversion of garage to a family room and a study. And I looked at some maps and it didn't appear to affect the car parking particularly. So there's no comments and no objection from other councillors. So are we happy with that one?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you. So that's the new applications. Move on to planning decisions, which is Appendix 5 on page 17. We seem to have got most things right apart from one. The one that's been refused at 22 Austin was the one which is right on the corner.
Yes.
I think I said at the time this looks to be very large because they've already extended it once. And obviously they were trying to extend it yet again. And I read the details and I get the impression from Wokingham that they consider it overdevelopment and the house footprint has gone up, double or more over a period of time, which is why it's been refused by them. So apart from that, I think that we get a tick in the box for once. Right, item 6 then. Approval submission, 11 Bradwood Avenue. That was one that actually came out here, didn't it? Application for the prior approval erection of a single-story rear extension. So they're looking to put an extension on the rear as well as on the front on that basis, because we've had an application here for the front. And now they're putting an application into the rear as well. It's interesting. We need to comment. I hadn't noticed that before. I don't know if we need to comment on that.
It's an application that goes to Woking to say whether they require prior approval or not. So they
222528 is 11 Redwood.
Oh, is that one of the test the water act?
yeah, basically, well, it's Woking will say yes, you do have permitted developments, you can go ahead and do it, or they will say no, you need to make an application. In which case, I make a full application and then it will come to us.
I would account for that one then.
It says it doesn't require consultation, but okay. The extension is going by 6 meters, which is because there's normally, I think it's acceptable up to 5, isn't it? If you go beyond 5 meters deep, then
I thought it was 3 and you couldn't go the full width of the house. I thought that was the. Yeah, but there's it changes depending on how far away you are from next door and all that kind of stuff. So it's as always, I think it started off simple and then somebody interfered with it. A bit like tax, isn't it?
This person obviously just put them in speculatively on the hope that they will be told yes, they can.
Yeah.
And if Woking say no, then they'll go through the full.
there is a reference there to an application 222537. So
being open about it, Lee, don't we?
May well be that.
That's just a reference they put in for any, even including prior approvals.
Oh, yeah, no,
TPO, they all have their own reference numbers, so that's just the prior approval application that's that.
Okay. Item number 7, advertisement consent notification from Marks and Spencers. Again, it doesn't require consultation. I've just put in some more externally illuminated fascia signs up. M&S food hall, etc. Item 8 is applications for works to trees. Do you want me to go through these or can we take them as read?
That's right.
Everybody happy with that, taking them as read? Number 9 then is Cycling in Woodley Subcommittee. To note a report on page 19. Which was held on the 31st of August. You got any questions on that? Alex was here.
A correction, page 20, it says 209 signatures, it was 902 signatures. But the only other thing was that the cycling subcommittee is kind of totally out of the loop when it comes to these cycle proposals, you know.
Oh, what, the active cycle route, yes.
I mean, I suppose maybe you need to talk to Robert Horskins about how, you know, the cycling subcommittee could be in the loop, if you like.
That's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Okay, item 10, local bus services on page 23. It's really to note. Notice the prices are going up again, but there are all sorts of rumours that bus prices might be frozen, so we'll have to wait and see. Yes, Carl?
Just wanted to make a note, it's just nice that we've got this briefing note so often we find out about things happening at the borough when there's bad news or, you know, when somebody complains. So at least about being ahead of the game, but it's nice to know what is happening if residents should ask.
So I think the price has gone from, is it £2.10p to £2.20 to get to?
But it's a rough price, I don't know. I'm old.
Feel it.
Well, I've got a bus pass, but you can't use it until 9:30 or something.
Just
Yeah.
got 9 in Woking Borough.
The trouble is I have to go to London.
Anywhere else is 9:30, but Woking Borough, if you get on a bus, it doesn't have to start in Woking Borough. If it stops in Woking Borough after 9, you can get on it.
Sometimes the driver won't take your ticket until the end of the journey.
Wait till it comes from their pass, yeah.
Basically, with the congestion charge in London, if you go into this bit, you pay and you come out again and you don't know.
An earlier comment about things that should be simple that aren't there, just to reiterate.
No, there's no such thing as simple.
No, not when council.
Okay. Item 11, the community speed watch. David's not here, unfortunately, to give us an update on that.
I like the signs. I saw the sign. I actually noticed the
Plenty
sign.
of signs, one or two a bit hidden.
I was driving up a bit where I often think people lick round this roundabout, you know, just off the top of as you're coming off the 329. I've often thought people lick round that roundabout way too fast without looking, and I thought there's a speed watch sign that's really bold there. I wonder if that will have just even a subliminal slowing. I feel there's a psychological impact potentially there, even if that only slows down 1 in 100 people. It's got to be a bonus, isn't it? That
We managed to get the grass cut in front of it because the grass just obscured
that's
it. but
probably
we
why I
managed to
didn't
get
see it until today.
First there, it wasn't there. But when you know now, you'll see that they just mowed probably about 4 meters away from it,
Yes.
so you can see it as your approach, which is helpful.
Yeah, half the job, Bob, again.
Item 12, early station footbridge. Would you like to read out the response? Okay.
And hold on a second, let me find it. After the last meeting, as requested, Councillor Wicks, on behalf of Councillor Wicks, we sent an email to Woking Borough Council to ask them to make a judgment on replacing the bridge and to give us a more definitive answer. We had a response from Chris Easton, who's the new Assistant Director of Highways and Transport at Woking Borough Council, that read, "Thank you for your email and your letter which has been passed to me. I'm the new Assistant Director. Look forward to meeting and working with you as we seek to progress and discuss this project. Following discussions with Paul Fishwick, I have today requested for a meeting to be set up with both Woodley Town Council and Early Town Council, at which we will present 2 options for a replacement bridge. The meeting will also be attended by a member of our structures team and the design consultant, who will be able to take you through the detail of the project. Kalies Erasmus will be in touch with the respective clerks in coming week to arrange those dates. And we had, I think, an email through, and I think the options for dates are Thursday the 15th and Friday the 23rd of September.
I think we need the district councils as well.
There's a number of people on the invite. There's borough councillors, clerks, other executive members, previous executive members. There's a number of town councillors. So there's a number of people that have been included on that list.
Yeah, I think we need all the district borough councillors on that as well. That's 15th to 23rd September, is it?
That's the 15th and the 23rd. Yes, I do think, because it's come through, but I don't think you've been invited.
I would say take it personally, but take that personally.
I don't remember seeing an email.
Would you like me to ask?
The chairman of the planning committee.
Yes.
I don't mind.
Hey, you're right, you've got to be there for that.
Go on, Carol.
Yeah, I understood you would be invited from, when I spoke to Paul Fishwick about it. Just like to pass on what he was saying, that he's very committed to there being a bridge. There's no thought of there not being a replacement bridge, which I think was our fear. They couldn't do this and they couldn't do that. There will be one, it's just finding which is the better option. There's still the issue.
White elephant in a way there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's still the issue with the Maze Lane Cemetery and Early Town Council's objections, but more and more bits are falling off. So it's going to happen.
I've had to put small netting underneath to catch it, and various other things. So the worry is just how long is it going to last before someone says, sorry guys, you can't use it. And then it's going to be out of use. And then people are going to wander off and find an alternative. And then when it is eventually replaced, are people going to come back and use it? Or will they have already found an alternative?
But you
I think they're like the alternatives.
They probably won't.
went through that the other day as well, and that's put your ends again.
Alex, don't you think things become a bit of a habit after?
Well, you end up getting in the car. don't you?
Things become a bit of a habit after a while, don't they? You get.
Oh, yes, yeah, I mean, and new people start using, but yeah, it'd be a big concern if Woodley didn't have access to a railway station. I mean,
I mean, the problem was, I think I worked it out. It was it 500 meters? If you're disabled and there's no lift, you've got 500 meters to walk to actually get to the other side of the bridge, not including the length of the ramps on the early side, I think. So you've got an awful long way to walk, and it's going to put people off.
It's that.
but yeah, but at the moment they can't do it at all.
No,
That's the only thing to be said.
I think it's
Yeah.
it's that.
Right, two options are ramp or lift, isn't it? That's what's on the table.
Of course, the lift isn't going to be manned, is it?
That's
So
the trouble, isn't it? What happens when it goes wrong?
have to have CCTV system, and where's the person going to be who's going to look after it?
I don't know whether or not there is a bit like a radar key with the public toilets that they used to be that you could get if you were a wheelchair user.
No, it's not a wheelchair, it'll be bikes.
Oh, yeah, true.
Because the other thing was that I think there's the potential to put a staircase at the Woodley side, but there isn't the potential to put a staircase at the Early side, I believe. So if you're fit and capable, then you can run up or walk slowly up the stairs. But once you get to the other side, you've got the long walk over the ramps anyway.
Oh. Right.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, sorry. Yes,
No,
that's,
I didn't know.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean,
Well, we'll see. There's clearly some discussion.
I'm going to check my diary for those dates. I don't know what my availability is. Because when you said the dates, I thought,
Yeah, I don't, because of the system we've got, I don't get to see when that was sent through, but I was off Friday and Monday, and it was obviously Friday and Monday that it had come through, so it's only been the last couple of days anyway.
okay. Right, well, we move. I'm a sitter. I mean, who's actually been invited from here? I mean,
I have.
I would have thought most people in planning would probably want to come.
From this group,
One officer and one member, I thought.
so Kevin's been invited, Deborah's been invited, I'm on the invite. Councillor Cheng's on the invite, Councillor Skegg's on the invite, Councillor Rowland's on the invite. That's it from either one of our existing councillors or officers.
Well, definitely have my place. I don't know why I.
Philip.
If anyone would else,
Invited. I mean,
yes, of course, no, that's
I think it's far more important that Philip turns up than almost anyone else in the room.
where that list of names has particularly come from. So I've got a note to invite you. If anyone else would like an invite, then
I would like to come then.
could be an old list from when I was the chairman.
yeah, it's obviously come from somewhere.
Well, it's looking at Southlake councillors, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, okay, that does make sense.
But you're the other
I'll put a request through.
I'm north.
Myself and council
I
to
think Keith Bacon might.
Well, south of the
Keith
Nightingale.
actually turned up. I was just thinking when we did the walk through, Keith was there as well. So I think anybody who turned up to the walkthrough, and Alex was there. I think anybody who did the walkthrough has probably got a reasonable insight as to what we are. And I think they should all be given the opportunity to attend, I think.
When will they actually decide which date it is?
I guess they're waiting to see what the response is to that availability. So they'll send those 3 days through.
Most people
and
may.
most people come.
Yeah.
They'll do, that's their hope.
Did they say what time of day?
So the 15th of September is 10 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. and the 23rd is 11 a.m. till 12:30 p.m.
Morning, okay, so it might not be so convenient.
Yeah, I might not be able to do that.
I'll have to search the diary. If it's a Friday, it's probably not too bad. I'm not sure about 15th being a Thursday. Couple of jobs to do.
Yeah. I've always thought, even if you're working at home, you're still working during the working day. You can't just down tools without.
You can if you're self-employed.
Yourself, oh yeah, you're right.
If you work around.
I was gonna say, I just start at 7 and finish at 6:30.
Community issues, have we got any community issues we need to mention? No? Or highways issues? No?
It's just to say, following concerns from residents about speeding down Reading Road, I was one of the people that approached the officers about getting a sign, vehicle activated speed sign, a fast sign, a bit like the one in Fairwater Drive. And I think I reported it was going to come up with a new financial
I
year.
remember that, yeah.
It appeared, then it disappeared. But we have one, no, not. But what it is that they move these signs around because people get used to them and don't really notice them there anymore. So we have got a sign that goes into Reading Road. At the moment, it's down, I see it, it's somewhere else in Woodley. And no, not one that I've seen. So it will get moved around, but it means Reading Road will get covered with that. I can't remember.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. So item 15, you should have had some emails with the CCB e-bulletin and the MET club newsletter, and obviously if you've not seen them, just ask Matthew for a further copy. So item 16, do we have any future agenda items?
I've got one. Sorry, I was only thinking about this earlier today, but we are the Planning and Community Committee. I'm increasingly finding people unaware of my favourite TPO, which is 3/1951, which, if members aren't aware, covers 80% of Southlake and effectively says you may not touch a tree, be it a sapling or a mighty oak. Whether it's a native species, an invasive foreign species, you cannot prune it without phoning up the council, filling out a TPO form. And I know people flout it because they don't know it exists or it's a major pain in the backside. And it's got to the point where I clocked one of the trees that was lightly damaged in the storm near where I live was lopped, chopped down. And I disapprove of unnecessary bureaucracy. And I phoned the council and said, I'm thinking about putting in a TPO for 3 trees I need to deal with in my backyard. It would be very helpful as you rejected the first one based on insufficient information if I could have a copy of that TPO request to remove it. And they were, oh no, this is irreparably damaged, we removed it. And it wasn't, it was lightly damaged. And I kind of went, right, do you know what? This TPO doesn't work. This TPO needs to protect the trees that we highly value and need to make it easy for people to follow the rules, because at the moment, I don't think it does. So I would like to discuss in this committee what a better TPO might look like that fulfills a set of objectives of protecting the most valuable trees and ensuring that people don't accidentally fall foul of the law, and then potentially petitioning Woking Borough Council to at least discuss amending that. Because my other issue with it, just because I'm on my soapbox and I refuse to get off until the end of the meeting, is that the minute any development happens on the outskirts of this TPO, the council pulls in the TPO and makes an amendment, hence its revision 3/1951. So for example, when the Bullmarsh estate was built, they just completely eliminated the TPO from the entire area and protected about 2 trees. And I'm sat there thinking, who is this benefiting? When actually what we should be doing is saying, do you know what, we've got some beautiful mature trees in this area and they need absolutely protecting. And we need to make it clear to people who've got those trees are sacred. But even when you look at the plan on the internet, you would be well forgiven for not realizing that red line meant every tree from sapling to mighty oak is covered by this TPO. You would look at it and go, oh, I'm all right, that's not covered by. So I think it's a really poor piece of legislation. And I think it affects a couple of thousand houses in Woodley potentially. So I think it would be a worthwhile thing for this committee, even if only it raised awareness that people are risking penalty by not following the rules, because I do believe one should follow the rules at all times when it comes to this kind of thing.
See an issue with adding that.
And I will do a piece, I will do a soapbox on a piece of paper for that effect. But I'd be really interested in actually what people think that TPO should look like, because I think that TPO should exist, just not in the format it does at the moment.
Can we add that? Yeah. I mean, that will actually knock on to the next item on the agenda, which is the website anyway, because if we do decide to do something, then it's the sort of thing that we need to publicise.
Well, that's how I ended up in a Facebook discussion with a group of people. Go, no, you're mad. No, really. You can't do that. And genuinely, if you've got an oak stalk growing in your back garden, you're supposed to let that grow into a 40-foot high mega oak. it's just ludicrous. It's not suitable for what it is. No wonder people do whatever they like, which is wrong, especially the council.
Right, that's fine. Yeah, quite happy to add that.
Thank you. So,
Anything else? All right, so publicity website, Carol?
Yes, these early station footbridge, I mean, councils are getting involved, but I've talked to a number of residents that use the footbridge to get onto the Woking Road for a bus, for example, and wouldn't want to use the underpass, so children going to school, etc. So I do think it is an impact on our residents, and I would hope that they would get consulted at some point. And I wondered, following either whichever date that falls on, the next meeting, that we actually put out something to tell people what's happening, what might happen, what won't happen, etc.
Yeah. Things they need to know.
I think what would be nice as well is to get Wokingham to actually put someone down there to interview people who are using it.
Yes.
To find out
What would you
who's
do?
using it, what they're using it for, and what they would do if it wasn't there.
God, yeah, that's a good question.
Because there is going to be a time perhaps when it won't be there. It's when you do the, if you're going to knock one down and put another one up, there's going to be a period, albeit only a couple of weeks, I don't know, when people are going to have to make other arrangements.
Well, because the new one is going diagonally, the old one will stay there, so that might not happen, but it might just fall down by then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it takes a Woking Borough amount of time to sort out, it's going to be, I'll need a wheelchair to get up that one.
When they build on the early station side, will it impede, and then they would have to take the old one down. So there might be a bit more time, but 2.5 years, isn't it? They said that it would take. Not yesterday.
People that live at the end of that road aren't going to be better pleased for that 2.5 year construction. They can't make sense. They should probably at least have a chance to accept it.
But yeah, no, I quite agree with you, Carol. You do need, because I don't know if the residents are aware.
Well, nobody's told.
I don't know. Oh, that's.
Last one, with the enforcement issues, which is on page 27 and 28. 27, a camper van on site being used as habitable accommodation. And on 28, 66 Mannock Way. Being constructed enclosing an area of amenity land. Application submitted, so that must be why they've made a second application.
I think one of
The
those,
second one must include this.
No, that's not the second one. That's a different one.
It's the second amenity land one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry, you're right, yes. Shoot. Okay. And then we've got land at Norton Road, historical enforcement notice served 16/5/2011 on some garages.
was that, I think that was operating a business out of the garage, wasn't it? Is that where they were, I think it was suggested that they had a small mechanics business running out of a couple of residential garages. It's quite a long time ago, I think.
2011, it says. Yeah.
Clearly, they haven't stopped. I hope I don't get my car MOT there.
For enforcement doing, I wonder.
I've got a point about the TPO. Then there's
So enforcement.
no enforcement, no consequence, and there's an argument, isn't there? If you have a better TPA.
Right, okay, thank you, everybody.
Sure.
The meeting closed.